Hey Garth,
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm excited about this episode. It's
Yeah, me too.
gonna be so good. Hey Garth, tell me, where in your week do you prioritize connection?
Where in my week?
Yeah,
Ooh, um, I think uh, where in the week do I prioritize connection? Well, I like to think I prioritize it all the time. In season one, we talked to
hmm,
Tracy Fosher, and
yep,
she said take advantage of those moments when meetings get canceled or um, to walk around. Don't
yep.
just sink it back into the work. So I've really tried to taken that to heart. I like to think I prioritize it every day. And I think in the mornings, it's around the gym. At lunch, it's around the tables, eating tables. And after school, just try and walk around, say hi to kids if I'm not in a meeting and those types of things. What about
Cool.
you? What do you
Like
prioritize?
I have it in my calendar to connect every day, and I just find groups. I protect a couple times of be curious
Yeah.
and together times in my calendar, and I just know that in being curious, I've got to read or listen to a podcast, and together I've got to go and connect with somebody. So, and
Yeah.
I think it comes up in today's pod. Do you want to tease
Yeah,
it?
for
Do you
sure.
want to? We got a guest today, Garth.
Yeah. So much energy, so much
Yeah,
passion for connecting. It's something you just said about scheduling these things. Like not a skill you learn in business school. And our guest
that's right.
talks a little bit about the shift around business school, the employee of the future, and as a leader, why connection is so important.
Man, he hits on other topics, like, and back to that point is like, don't leave connection to happenstance, and
Yeah.
the element of social health, like
Mm.
something that's changed my thinking, and really return on investment for connection. Really compelling leaders to think about that. I don't think people are going to be disappointed.
No, I think especially if you're a leader who's feeling tough time of the year, mid September, like mid October, we're into the swing of things. You've got to act on KPIs and all that stuff, but you might be
Yep.
starting to feel a bit lonely at the top, right? And we do talk about that as well. So this guest is going to blow your mind. He's come to speak at my school before, and no
Yep.
doubt after you hear him, he might come speak at your organization or school too.
Well, I'm positive he's going to connect with our leaders. So let's get this thing going. What do you think?
Here we go.
With Garth and Jason, we dive right in. Breaking down Ted's world, let's begin. From AFC, Richmond's field to your day to day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from Ted, we'll learn and grow.
All right, welcome to season two of Lassoing Leadership. I'm your host, Garth Nichols.
And I'm also your host, Jason Rogers, and this is the second of three episodes dedicated to building relationships. We're calling our approach a leadership coach, where our game plan is laid out in a series of three. First one is about Garth and I just connecting on a topic and sharing a little bit about what we know and what we've learned. Then we bring on a guest. And the third one is when we take questions about the topic. And I can't wait for the questions that will come out of this one, Garth.
Yeah, and this week we're examining building relationships as a leader. It's
Right.
something at the core of leadership and one that can be really easy for some, but also more challenging for others. But luckily, we have an amazing guest, dare I say, expert to really unpack relationships and connection in this day and age.
Garth, I think this might be one of the most important and impactful episodes we've
I
ever
think so.
done because I think this is at the absolute core of leadership and
Yeah,
Lasso. I think it's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So today we are speaking with Pete Bombaci, founder and CEO of GenWell, Canada's human connection movement, making the world a happier and healthier place, one face-to-face conversation at a time. He's a humanitarian, speaker, and visionary. And if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will.
Well, I'm excited because I had the pleasure of meeting Pete. I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago now. And I'm vice principal at Haverhill College in downtown Toronto. And we had him into the school to address our students. And at that time, I mean, Pete was way ahead of the curve here. He was speaking to our students like 10 years ago about the impact of social media impact of devices that are causing socialization and
Yeah.
polarization.
Wow.
It was a great presentation. And so when this came up, obviously I thought of then he was the person that immediately came to mind. So welcome to Pete. Can you take some time to introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us a little bit about GenWell and the movement you're spearheading on human connection.
Yeah, thank you, Garth. And thank you for that opportunity many years ago, and to you and Jason for the opportunity to chat today. This is such a powerful conversation. So GenWell is, as Jason touched on, Canada's human connection movement. And our mission is to make the world a happier and healthier place by educating, empowering, and catalyzing Canadians around the importance of face-to-face social connection as a proactive step that we can all take for our health, our happiness, and for the betterment of society. The interesting thing is we've educated people on exercise, eating well, sleep, 8 glasses of water, don't drink too much, and don't smoke. And yet the research now tells us that our social connections and our relationships have a greater impact on our happiness, our longevity, our reduced sense of loneliness than all the things that we've been educating people on for over 50 years. So it's time that we educated and not only educated the young, but educated people throughout the course of life to recognize that those relationships, whether we create them when we're young or we build them along the journey, every one of them has an important part to play in living a happy and healthy life.
Yeah. And you're also a big Ted Lasso fan.
I am a massive Ted Lasso. I had these hats custom made. They've got they got GenWell on the back because 4 years ago or 3 years ago, probably mid-pandemic, I fell upon the show and believed it was so interconnected with the movement that I was trying to connect. I've reached out to Jason Sudeikis to speak at our annual conference in Vancouver this year in November. I've heard back from his people. I don't think it's going to happen. My budget's not quite big enough. But I am so enamored by not only the show, but the messages and each of the characters in the journey that they've been on as well.
Yeah. And we've in season 1, we talked about how much connection there was and how they brought out the beauty, even in challenges, they brought out the beauty of relational trust and those types of things. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about connection. So you and your organization speak about getting people together around a common mission and purpose. Can you tell us more about that?
Now, really, when I talk about educate, empower, and catalyze, when we talk about a common purpose, is that when we recognize the value of human connection to our health and happiness, we start to recognize, hey, we are all in this together. So let me give you an example of some of the benefits that come from feeling socially connected. It's the single greatest contributor to happiness in our lives. That's the Harvard study, over 80 years in the making. It reduces anxiety and depression. So every interaction we have, from talking to a stranger to building relationships with family and friends, can have a positive impact on our lives. Increases empathy and compassion in a disconnected world with disinformation and incivility happening all around us. When we feel connected to other people, we can build those bridges that make us recognize that we have more in common than what differentiates us. Strengthens our immune system, strengthens our self-confidence, increases our chances of living longer by up to 50%. And a study that came out during the global pandemic says it's the single greatest preventative action to avoid depression, which is one of the 2 leading mental health diagnoses since the end of the global pandemic. And my argument, or the purpose behind everything we do, is recognizing that we've never told anybody. And so this is what, when we say rally around a purpose or a mission, the reality is we just need to give people the information so that they get the aha moment that says, oh my gosh, I didn't know that talking to strangers, I love this stat, which is those who talk to strangers are up to 3 times happier than those that don't talk to strangers. And yet, what have we told people for 50 years? Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Well, I got an idea. Why don't we give people the facts and the truth so they can make some better decisions on building healthy connections and relationships in their life?
Wow, Pete. I mean, what strikes me there, and we had talked about this earlier in the season, when I was a little bit younger, I traveled around the world. And when I got back, I'd been to 26 or 28 countries. When I got back, people asked me what I learned. And what I learned, I think, still true today, is that people are people of people, and we all share the same needs. We need to connect with one another, and we want to get to know each other better. And it didn't matter if I was in Morocco or Thailand or Fiji. People are seeking out that craved that human connection. And a year of talking to strangers virtually the whole year really taught me that. So what you just shared really resonates. I think it's a universal language, connection.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I think the history, from caveman times, we've recognized we're a social species. The indigenous cultures have been teaching this for thousands of years. Maslow told us about, love and belonging. And some have argued that love and belonging comes before water, shelter, safety, and security, because that sense of connection and belonging, inclusion can help us find those resources that make us, even when we think of food insecurity or homeless, when we have people in our lives, we don't end up in those situations. So we really are trying to swim upstream. We're trying to be the positive, proactive, inclusive approach to saying, hey, if we could all build greater connections in our lives, it would help us prevent not only individual health and well-being, but actually some of the societal consequences. Because when we feel disconnected from one another, it increases risk of aggression, fear, racism, random acts of violence, extremism. So this is a movement that's about all of us, whether you're feeling disconnected or you're feeling fully connected every day.
Now, Pete, in that response, you mentioned positivity, and this week we are talking about positive leadership, and how positivity has a role in effective leadership. Your movement is talking about connection through positivity as well. What have you found really works in helping people connect through a common purpose or other things?
Well, I think what I love about our movement, and if you connect it to positivity, when we have people in our lives that we can chat through things, I think the stats show it's over 90% of people who experience burnout, at the highest levels of burnout, say that they're lonely. So that when we're struggling with a crisis, whether that's as a leader, over 50% of CEOs, by the way, say that they feel lonely on a regular basis, over 50% of entrepreneurs. So lots of research showing that leadership is not, they call it, it's lonely at the top. It wasn't just a joke. It wasn't somebody just came up with this. This is the truth. And so when we surround ourselves with people, Dr. Quam McKenzie at the Wellesley Institute, he's at CAMH in Toronto, he's a university professor at U of T, said to me early on, he said, when we connect with other people, it helps us cope, it helps us find solutions, and it helps us build resilience. And I think as a leader, when you recognize that you have people that you can go to when you get into a tough situation, whether it's your team or whether it's your support network outside of the job, that's what gives us that sense of resilience that allows us to remain positive through any challenge that we might have.
Your passion is like coming through the airwaves here, Pete. This is amazing.
Sorry,
You've got
Garth.
such great. You've got. Never apologize. You've got such great statistics to back it up. That health is health, right? Physical, mental, spiritual, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to go a little bit deeper here. One of the key relationships that we see across organizations, and I'll speak to schools in particular, are that when you have relationships, you build them within your sort of grade teams or your department that you're teaching in, or other lines of similarity, coaching, if you're doing the school play, those types of things, or even geography, just like where you're located in the school. If you could give a piece of advice to a leader on how to build connections across an organization, where would you steer them, and what would you caution them against?
I think the one caution that I would throw out there is don't leave it to happenstance. There's a study out of Boston College, and Constance Newman, oh my God, I'm skipping her last name, but Constance out of Boston College, the study showed that even pre-pandemic, 72% in one study of employees in a workplace found it difficult to build relationships. So just putting people into a physical building doesn't ensure that we're going to build connection. So to me, it's you need to formalize these connections. First off, you need to educate people on the why. Right now,
Nice.
we do work with municipalities, businesses, schools, all over the place. And people say, but we already run all these events. And our comment is always, but do people understand why you're doing it? Do they think it's on your KPI? Do they think it's your, initiative? Tell them why it's important for them. We don't understand it's about happiness, health, longevity, sense of inclusion, all those beautiful things that if we understood why, then when the boss says, hey guys, we're going to get together Friday for a beer, or we're going to go bowling, or we're going to go do whatever, then we think less about it as a task and more of an opportunity. And so if we calendarize it so that we know that once a month we're going to get the team together, and that every 2 weeks we're going to have a coffee chat, and if every, whatever that system is for you, put it in the calendar, prioritize it, because the benefits on the other side, just for numbers again, increases of productivity, innovation, collaboration, trust, respect, all the things that every business wants to get out of their people, is because you show that you care about the people first, and the business comes with it.
That's a beautiful answer, getting us to like the how, be intentional, and then set
Very
up those
much.
moments. But I think it's so important, all this stuff that you've been telling us, we need to tell that to our people. And I love challenging us to make that part of our own KPI. It's amazing.
And Pete, what strikes me there is like there's a good book a while back called Big Questions by Tom Peters, and inside that book he says you are your calendar. And I think you've nailed it by prioritizing connection and diarizing it or calendaring it. And I think, personally, I entered this year. We have 230 employees here at Rundle, and I'm trying to meet with every one of them in the month of September. And I can tell you, not a day goes by when I don't have 6 to 10 meetings with employees one-on-one. But there's not a day that goes by where there's not a tear shed over something, that's sad or really happy, and there's not a laughter shared. And I can tell you at the end of the day, even though they're long days, I'm happier, I'm more fulfilled, and I've got more purpose than the day before. So if you allow me, I'm a convert. I believe in this, but I'm going to play the skeptic for a minute, okay? And I'd like you to, take my skeptical question and just work with it. So I'm a principal or a school leader or an organizational leader. And I say to you, Pete, it's easier not to be connected because Pete, we've got tough decisions to make. And the closer we are, the more impactful those decisions are going to be for us and the other people. So I like to keep arm's length, and I prefer to be there. Can you convince me otherwise? Like what is actual upside?
Oh, Jason, that's a really good question. And let me actually start answering it by, let's remember that no business school has ever taught this skill for the last 100 years. We've talked about operational efficiency. We've talked about how to make every dollar work. So now we're trying to get business leaders to think completely differently. I want you to think with your heart instead of your head. And that's going to be, this is the challenge that I think we struggle with. Even on an investment side, we think about it through the lens of what's my ROI on things. So, what do I say to the boss who thinks that way is, first off, let me show the stats that show you that if you invest that time, here's the return on that time. And there's lots of research out there that shows that the businesses that feel more connected are more productive. And when I look at the more productive, profitable, all those wonderful things, but if you look at the employee of the future and you look at for what is that person going to be looking for? If you want to attract the best talent moving forward, if you're not this type of business, you're either going to overpay for talent because nobody's going to want to work for you unless you're basically overcompensating. But don't we all want to work in a place where we feel connected? We feel like it's family. We're all moving towards a common goal together. And so, I know it's going to be a tough sell to many business leaders because this is a new game. But if you know the numbers, you know the facts, and you're willing to invest the transition time, which is really challenging, then I think the other side will be good, not only for you as a leader, for your health and well-being, but also for every member of your team.
One of the most cutthroat businesses out there is professional sports. So let's talk about Ted Lasso for a moment, because he came in and he fundamentally changed the culture around relationships and around all these things that we've been talking about for the last sort of 15 minutes here, Pete. So I got to ask you, who do you think was the great connector in Ted Lasso? Who did it really, really well? And if you have a favorite moment, share that with us too.
Yeah, I think, hey, there's, Ted to me was just his patience, his kindness, his care, his concern, his lack of judgment of people. When you think back to season 1, everybody had an issue, but Ted never judged anybody. But there was one really powerful moment, and I'm getting goosebumps even as I think of this moment in the show. And it's when Trent Krim comes up to Ted in the hallway and he's with Coach Beard. And he said, Ted, you're right. You knew this. It's the Lasso way.
Yes.
And when we just talked about leadership and where we need to go from the old way of thinking to the new way of thinking, it's that type of leadership. Ted did things that people, every person questioned, like, you're a wanker. You have no idea what you're doing until they recognized, holy cow, he knew what he was doing this whole time. He knew if he coached the people, not the sport, that everybody would get on his team. And it is the most beautiful coaching lesson I think we could ever have, from business to life to sport. And so, Ted to me is an inspiration, and just that whole story and the journey of so much conflict and individual crisis to a point where everybody goes, oh my God, we're all far better when we come together and we go through this, as a team.
Yeah. So is Ted your favorite character, Pete?
Well, I would think of, and I'm drawing a blank on him. Oh my God, I can't believe, with not Coach Beard, but the guy who likes to use profanities.
Roy
Kent.
Oh, Ken.
Yeah, so I can't believe I just forgot Roy Kent's name. Honestly, I know that's probably not the right answer for, this type of inspirational and positive message. But as far as laughing my head off every time he was part of a series or an episode, honestly, he was one of the funniest human beings on the planet. And I love that he was a writer who ended up being in the show. Like, how beautiful is that?
It's amazing.
So, it's just awesome. Hey, listen, we're going to begin to wrap up. Is that all right, Jason?
It's good. This has been good, Garth. All right, really good.
Before we go, you can hear Pete is like passionate. For those who aren't watching but listening, he's got a hat on with the believe, the Ted Lasso believe on the front. It's just amazing. But I want to go back to your presentation at Havergal because it was really impactful. We are continuing to do that work. And no doubt you've continued your incredible work in this space as well. How do we use social media for good, around device use, those types of things? I think people would be really interested. Where can our listeners find you and your work? Because you do work in schools, but you also do work across many different businesses. So, Pete, where can we find you?
Everybody can head over to GenWell.ca and they can find out everything, not only about the programs that we run in schools and workplaces and many other organizations, but also the 7 campaigns that we run throughout the course of the year that are intended to actually rally all Canadians, 40 million of us, to actually say, who are you getting connected with? Because part of the struggle that we're all facing right now is that if I put down the phone, but you don't put down the phone, it makes it difficult for us to make time for that connection. So we're trying to catalyze people to take action simultaneously. That gives us all permission to say, yeah, it's okay for me to make time to connect because I understand the benefit of doing so. And thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Pete, even though we're separated by time and space, I do feel connection with you, and I can tell that you do an incredible work. And I hope that our listeners follow up on that and chase you down. I know we'll have further conversations, Pete, you and I, because I think you can support us along the way too. But before we go, it's not just about this conversation in this room or in this Zoom with the 3 of us. It's about conversation with our listeners and continuing this important, mission of what we're trying to do here with Lassoing Leadership. So if you have questions that, you'd like Pete to answer, you'd like Garth and I to take a shot at, please get them into us. We'd love to hear your insights and ideas on this journey to a kinder, more compassionate way to lead. Ultimately, we're looking to hear from you.
Yeah. All right. That's a wrap, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much, Pete. You've been an amazing guest.
Amazing.
For those who are listening, please be sure to tell your friends, spread the news, like, subscribe, all those good things.
And Pete, I think you know what to do now. Can you take us home?
Hey, Garth, Jason, great to be here. But until next time, keep leading the Lasso way.
All right. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks.
Step up to the mic. It's time to play Lassoing leadership every day. From the pitch to the boardroom, lessons call to mind. Keep leading the lasso way. You'll find we've got heart, we've got soul, and humor too. Exploring how Ted shows what leaders should do. With Garth and Jason, we dive right in, breaking down Ted's world. Let's begin from AFC, Richmond's field to your day-to-day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show.